Hey everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be unboxing about $20,000 of rare coins that I've been purchasing. And the way that I've done this, just so you know, is I'm unboxing these as they come in, because often I have to sell them very quickly and I don't have time to make separate videos for each. And some of them are like, hey, I bought 300 bucks of this type of coin, or I bought $10,000 worth of this literal one coin, but I bought 140 of them. And so I thought from a how would this translate to a video perspective that this is the best way to do it. So let's start with the unboxings. And our first Ancients unboxing looks pretty promising. I'm really excited. As you can see, a lot of better types. And so I kind of will just go coin by coin here. It looks like we can, maybe I'll start from like chronologically at some level because we have an Athenian owl tetradrachm. I was really excited to get this. And one of the interesting things here is that this is from Attica, Athens, but it's like a later style. So the owl kind of gets introduced in like 510 BC or so, and it might be even earlier than that. But Athens, a Greek city, gets a lot stronger in that time period, and really from 440 to 404, really their zenith, and they were creating tons of owls, the traditional type, that looks a little bit different from this. So here we have kind of a later look to Athena on the front of that coin. It's still got that great owl, but this would have been struck from like 393 to 294 BC. I know that there's a ton of wars, and I'm still learning a lot of those, but sort of after, people would still want to go with what the known monetary standards were. And so in that theme, this is actually, these coins, many of them are older than this one, but this is a type of Alexander the Great, though it has a really nice countermark, and I'm not sure exactly where it's from, but you can see Alexandroi. It's in the name of Alexander the Great, Zeus seated holding an eagle in his hand, and ASKD, I'm not sure if that's like, if that would refer to a spendus. It looks like it's been solidly cleaned, but it has the portrait of Heracles on the front. Nice looking tetradrachm, good eye appeal. And so the coins down here are, and I'm not exactly sure, I'll actually kind of try to look live with you all. Okay, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, this could be Lysimachus. It says Basileus on the reverse. I'm not sure exactly who's on the front, but these are like different of the generals, and they do include some of the Alexander the Great types. Like this is an Alexander the Great tetradrachm, a bit worn, but you see that same Zeus seated. So like this coin is minted probably like 100 years later in the same type, though the coin itself looks a little bit different, but there's a lot of similarities. So I should have probably shown that one first. So it looks like that's Alexander the Great. This kind of looks like Alexander the Great, and you can often, like, I think that does say Alexandroi, so more Alexander the Great tetradrachms, but then some of these other ones, like this, that looks a little different. I'm thinking that this one could be, okay, I'm almost positive that this is Lysimachus, because that's a lambda, Lysimaxoy, Lysimachos, and then you have Athena seated holding, I think it's Athena, maybe Apollo with a shield, holding victory. This is like a better type of tetradrachm. And then over here, you've got a couple of different, I think that this is like, these are Seleucus Serranus, though I could be wrong about that. And they definitely are the, Antioch, this is the Seleucid Empire. So after Alexander the Great dies, sort of the most powerful empire is probably the Seleucids, and that owns like all of, at that stage, the sort of like modern day Middle East, plus even further west out to India, though the Parthians and a couple of the Parthians break off, and so do the Bactrians, which I think we have and then the Indo-Scythians come later. This is a different type. I'm not exactly sure who that is. They're not like in the best condition, but they're pretty solid. And so next up, it looks like we have, this is an imitation, a Thassos tetradrachm, and so some nice Greek lettering on this reverse. We've got, I love the club. These are often a little bit crudely struck, but I think that it's a really nice looking coin. And after that, this is, so I mentioned the Bactrians, eventually the Indo-Scythians sort of come in, and I think it's they like begin ruling. I think it relates to the Yuechi tribes, but that could be wrong as well. But basically this is Maui's, that's their first main ruler. I need to learn more about him, but nice tetradrachm of his. And then later on, so we have some Roman imperial denarii. These are a little bit later, but larger planchet. And I mean, look at the blue toning on this thing. This is a Trajan Decius, Dekkio, Trajanus Dekkio, and just fantastic blue toning, though a little bit of incrustation, but really a highlight. This would have been like Antioch, kind of Syria area, though there's a couple of other strikes. This one doesn't have that toning, but maybe a little bit technically nicer condition. For Philip, I think the first, you can see that Philippoi on the side, great bearded portrait, nice coin, looks great on camera too. And so those were like later Roman emperors after there's some devaluation of the currency that really goes on through the Severans and Severus Alexander, and then really Gordian from 238 to 244. Those last ones were like late 240s to 250. So here's Severus Alexander. That's the last of the Severan dynasty, with a portrait of Virtus on the reverse. And these are like denarii, the base Roman unit that really gets introduced to, replace the as denomination. Here's Pudicitia. It looks like Julia Maesa, Maesa. I think she's pretty instrumental in getting Elagabalus back after Macrinus overthrows Severus Alexander. Elagabalus is like a cousin or nephew of maybe even like a grandnephew of Septimius Severus, who rules from 193 to 211 or so. And then Caracalla is ruling after that. There's Severus Alexander again. But Elagabalus is really not a good ruler, and he's quickly overthrown. That's Julia Augusta, I think, is Julia Domna. That's the empress under Septimius Severus. Here we see Julia, that looks like, to me, Julia Mamaea. So a bunch of different Julias, and they were very powerful women within the Roman Empire. Nice Severus Alexander denarius, but these are going to be less expensive. Probably try to sell these, retail them in the range, like it's a little back of retail, but somewhere near like high $40 or a touch more, as people will bid. I would not be shocked if some of these, like that's a little more worn, so probably isn't going to get bid too crazy high. Pudicitia. Other examples might. So that's this unboxing. I think it was really solid, and I'll try to edit back in a little bit of context, but super interesting, bunch of great ancient coins that I'm excited to offer in upcoming sales, and we'll get to our next unboxing. And we've also got a couple packages here. I'm pretty sure this is going to be some like Estonian items, and then this one is going to be some medals. Both of these were actually bought by Anthony, who works at Treasure Town, but they arrived to me, and I'm going to see what's inside and maybe evaluate his purchases. And I realized that probably the best way to do this video was going to be for me to actually do a little bit of research into the coins, and I could do them a bit better because I wouldn't have been able to tell you much, and I'm super interested in the history that I have learned. So these are a little bit chronologically ordered, and we've got all the different like flip catalogs. And so basically Livonia, which is sort of modern day Latvia and Estonia, was a pretty powerful component back then. This is like late 1300s. They fought against Polish-Lithuanian forces, Sweden, but it's part of the Teutonic Order, which I've heard of and I need to learn more about. So here, this is like late 1300s, and this is like at the top of the Livonian Order. So as you can see, a lot of these are going to be struck in that time period. They have a big sort of formed threat in the form of Poland and Lithuania having an alliance in 1385, and so like that seems to be pretty significant. And then moving forward, like the Battle of Grunwald in 1410, so probably right under Master Conrad von Wietenhof, they fought the Polish-Lithuanian forces, and people kind of declined, and so they also fought against Riga in this time, which I've sold some like Riga solidi and things like that. And so anyways, pretty interesting history, I think, on that front. And they kind of draw down. They also then later fight against Ivan the Terrible, who I've sold a bunch of wire money of. And that's more towards like 1558. And then later on, Sweden kind of comes in and takes control of Reval. And that's like nearby and sort of a component of it. It starts as a Viking settlement in Estonia, and like that's controlled by the Danish from the 1200s onward. But yeah, after that Livonian War, Sweden owns Reval, so that's why it's called Swedish Estonia. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then a couple of other notes. We bought a bunch of medals because I realized we hadn't done that much in the way of medals. These are like from the early 1900s, showing Franz Josef, the Emperor of Austria-Hungary. I'm not sure exactly if it was 1848 that he was born. I would kind of be surprised if he was born 1848. I would have thought that that was like after the revolution of 1848 or something like that. But then there's also a couple of interesting smaller medals that kind of commemorate. These appear, in my opinion, to be like World War I commemoratives. Let's see. World War I medals, and then a miniature version of the prior, and then more Franz Josef, Signum Laudis, Signum Memoriae, so probably some types of memorials. Anyways, those weren't too expensive, but it's like, hey, there's some cool medals. We want to test them out and try to resell, also learn a little bit more about them. The first two thalers here could have some issues. So there's some pretty big surface issues. It's the Bishopric of Salzburg in 1797. Pretty large coin, but it's been cleaned and, again, has those surface issues on the front. So if that comes up for sale, not that I'm misleading anybody on it. This one also was noted to have a little bit of tooling. And so Salzburg actually dates back to the 700s and has a lot of Holy Roman Empire influence, but it's pretty strong, and they expel Catholics in 1731, so a little bit after this, but they're always strongly Catholic through like the Reformation, and then in 1803 they become Austria. Over here, this one is, I think, 1753. So this is like post-expulsion. This one is a nicer looking coin, and we paid a lot more for this one. But it's like, hey, we got to try out some of these taler-sized coins. And then this last one here is a nice Maria Theresa, and there's some like adjustment marks and some scratches, but it's a beautiful Mother Mary and Christ Child 1742 silver taler. So paid in the mid-200s for that. Would try to sell that probably in the mid-300s is my guess. Anyways, those are the coins from those two packages. We've got a couple more in the next one that I'm excited about. And again, hopefully learning some history, being able to show you guys some of what I'm learning about along the way. And I think this is going to be the last unboxing for this group, which is honestly has been a pretty large mix of coins so far. And these were super awesome. I got 139 gold Japanese coins, so 100 of these Boo, 39 down here. And since I'm filming this just right before Whatnot auction, I'm only going to show one of each. The interesting thing is on these, I'm going to look for ones where that character curves upward. Then that would be a much rarer Manan from 1860 to 1869. These, I guess, are technically gold, but they're really Electrum. I think this one's 29% gold, 29.8. This one is 22.2 or 22.9, something like that. And so great. Last of the bar money in Japan. The Meiji era is taking over from the Tokugawa shogunate at that stage. This one is actually an earlier Tenpo type from 1832 to 1858, first struck under Emperor Ninko Tenno. And then over here we have some Parthian coins and some Roman, actually. This one is the Usurper Magnus Maximus, which is awesome. There's a little bit of a flank crack, but beautiful. Well, Solidus coin. Or not Solidus, Siliqua, excuse me. These ones are from Alexandria, Egypt, the first being Nero, who was famous for persecution of Christians, and the last of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, with a portrait of Alexandria, which is, that's where the Library of Alexandria was burned down, with an elephant cap. And then over here we've got Hadrian, who is a very good Roman ruler, kind of part of the 5 good emperors. He reigned, I think, 117 to 138 AD. So 2 tetradrachms. We also have some Parthian types here. Over here, I think it's going to be Pacorus Vologases, the 4th, who fights a ton against the Romans, and then including Marcus Aurelius. That's like 147 to 191, and then I'm pretty sure that's Osro's later Parthians. That's like a Hellenized Greek-Persian empire. They get overthrown by the Sasanians, who are more ethnically Persian, going back to Cyrus the Great. Then over here we have 2, they both feature Tyche, but 2 Parthian tetradrachms, similar rulers. I think one's Vologases the 4th, the other is Vologases the 6th. So those are interesting. And then last but not least, we've got some El Cazador Shipwreck, 1783 dollars. I actually got those at a great deal because they don't actually have El Cazador packaging, but that shipwreck style certainly is going to be the El Cazador type from 1783. That was their shipwreck that sunk in 1783 and had a bunch of King Charles III coins on board. And then, not to be left out, some beautiful, a lot of these are toned very nicely. Charles IV, who was pretty weak actually as a Spanish ruler and had a pretty poor tenure, gets ousted both internally and by Napoleon. And there's an earlier one, some neat Chinese chop marks as well. There's one on the head showing how far these circulated around the globe. And then there's one of those Charles III as well. So fantastic group of coins. I think overall, as we mentioned, I think we spent at least 20,000 on this. So definitely a lot of value. The stuff in front of me, obviously less so, but just over the course of the couple different unboxings we got to do. So pumped to bring it to you, and I will see you guys soon.
Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to head on over to treasuretown.com and sign up for our email list to stay up to date on everything that's happening, whether it's auction updates, exciting new inventory drops, coin collecting news, or general informational resources. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on another one.